Welcome to tonight's live stream. I am going to get started in a minute. I just need to let everybody know that the stream is getting ready to go on. Okay, I'm going to get started. So, tonight's live stream, before I get started with tonight's live stream, I'm going to go into some perfunctory and I'm going to talk about some stuff that I'm working on right now. Now, currently, I have two books. SJS Direct 2021 Fall Catalog. The first book that I have out for the 2021 catalog is Stop Simping in Cyberspace. And this book will teach you how to identify female online editors. Pre-order Stop Simping in Cyberspace on Kindle right now, or you can pick up a paperback copy right now. So that book is already available in paperback and it's going to be available on Kindle this October. Now, the second book that is a part of the SJS Direct 2021 catalog is the E-Steam series story, E-Steam Cancel Vacation. Now, this is a social commentary on cancel culture, and it's one where Hell's Aspiring Angel takes on a cancel culture mob that formed on social media to fight her, and this one makes a powerful commentary on your cancel culture. You can get that book on Amazon right now by pre-ordering it on Kindle. I'm still working on the editing of that one, but Stop Simping in Cyberspace is where I want to be. Now, in addition to Stop Simping in Cyberspace and Cancel Vacation, I am also working with Antonio Balderi, a comic artist, on the John Haynes at Death Store comic. And we're getting closer and closer to the halfway mark on the art on this comic. And if you've seen the preview page on Patreon or in the post section of my channel, I'm trying to make an absolutely fantastic comic to share with you guys in an upcoming Kickstarter. So that's progress. I'm making a lot of progress on that comic, and I'm hoping to have that comic out sooner rather than later for everyone on Kickstarter, and I'm hoping everybody gets the word out on that book. Now, in addition to those fall 2021 books, I have now available John Haynes Taking Care of Business in paperback and Kindle format, and Isaac's Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. Now, these were the spring SJS Direct 2021 books, and I would really like to see more readers pick these up, so it would be greatly appreciated if you guys pick those up and help out. So that's the perfunctory for tonight's live stream, and I'm going to give everybody a shout out. Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare, See Truth the Revelator, Gabriel, Gordon, glad to see you all here. Computer Robots, glad to see you here. And tonight I'm going to be talking about your Jada Pinkett, your Sonya Curry, and emotionally unavailable women. Now, when it comes down to both your Jada Pinkett and your Sonya Curry, they both are examples to me of what I would call an emotionally unavailable woman. Now, when it comes down to your females, they usually are emotional, and when a woman wants to be in a relationship with a man, she invests her emotions into a guy. Unfortunately, you have a lot of guys out here who really are not good critical thinkers, like your Del Curry or your Will Smith, and they cannot really read the signs as related to women. And because these guys really cannot read signs as related to women, what happens is they get involved with women who are physically there, but not emotionally involved with them at all. Now, when it comes to women, again, they are emotional. And if a woman really is in a relationship, she has to be in that relationship and be emotionally interested in that man. And many of your guys out here, they're not really good, especially these square guys like your Will Smith or a Del Curry. They're not good at reading the signs of somebody who is emotionally available. And you really have to understand the concept of emotional availability to understand when somebody is emotionally involved. Now, one of the things that will let you know if a woman is emotionally interested is where she is paying attention to you. Now, if a woman is emotionally interested in a guy, she is going to make that guy a priority. And that was something that your Sonya Curry was not doing for your Del Curry back in the days when they were dating. Now, your Sonya Curry was out here with this white dude, and she was making herself available for the white dude. And unfortunately, your Del Curry, he could not read the signs as related to who she was putting first. And because he couldn't see who she was putting first, he couldn't see who she was interested in emotionally. Now, when your woman is, again, really interested in a guy, she's going to make him a priority, and she's going to go out of her way through her actions by doing things like making sure she answers his calls, making sure she goes out here and responds to his texts. And she's going to do that almost immediately because she wants to let that man know who is her leader and who she wants to go out here and follow. So she wants to go out here and let that guy know she is going to be available whenever she wants her to be. And she's going to go out here and let him know almost immediately that, hey, I'm here for you and I will always be here for you. And that's something that a guy has to learn how to pick up on early, that if this woman is interested, because she's going to drop everything for you and make herself available at a moment's notice. Now, your guys like your square dudes, they don't really notice this. They'll sit there and think, oh, they've got a shot because they're getting attention, but they don't have a shot at all because if she's doing things like saying, I'll call you back, or she's waiting to respond to your texts after a couple of hours, that shows that you are not a priority. You are not number one, and she has invested no emotions in you. And that's something a lot of women go out here and do. They don't invest emotions in guys that they're not interested in. And what they do is they put those guys on the back burner. Now, those are the guys who wind up in what I call the harem. And the guys in the harem, what they do is they're the ones who wind up investing emotions in her, and she has no emotions invested in him. So the guys in the harem, these are the guys who are on the back burner, and these are the guys that she keeps around in case things don't work out with the guy she really wants. So a lot of these guys think because she's paying attention to them that they are number one, but in actuality, you are number two, or in some cases, you are number three, four, sometimes even number 12. And you're thinking that because she's talking to you, she's interested, But in a lot of cases, she's just got you on standby, and you are standing by while this other guy is out here blowing out the back and having a good time. And that's the guy she's really engaged in. So a lot of these guys, like your Del Currys and your Will Smiths, they're thinking, oh, I've got a shot with this female, but you never had a shot at all because she never invested a single feeling in you. And again, when a woman invests feelings in a man, that shows that she is interested. And the only way you can tell that is by the actions she participates in. So her actions will define her character, and how she reacts to you lets you know how interested she's in. So a lot of guys will think, oh, I got a phone call, but it's not getting the phone number. It is when it's the response you get to that phone call that lets you know where you are emotionally. Because an emotionally available woman is going to make herself physically available at the first call. She's going to make herself physically available at the first request, and she's going to make you a number one priority. Whereas the guy who she has no real emotional interest in, he's going to be the one that she goes out here and talks about calling him back. She's the one who's going to say, I have stuff to do. She's going to put something in the way of you. But the guy who she's interested in, she's going to drop everything, and I mean everything, including her job, including dealings with family, and she's going to put that man first. That is the first sign, again, of emotional availability, is her going out here and making you a priority. Now, the second sign, again, is her making herself physically available at the first notice. Now, a woman who makes herself physically available at the first notice, she's doing that because she wants to be in your presence. She wants to be around you, and she wants to have that time with you. She wants to have you before everybody else. So she's going to make herself physically available, and she's going to go out here, and when the job calls, she's going to tell them they're going to need to find somebody else. When some family members call, she's going to tell them, I need to be with my man. That's what happens when she's emotionally available. But when she's emotionally unavailable, these very same people that she would go out here and say that she couldn't be with, like the job and the family, those are the people she's going to say she has obligations to, and she's going to use those people to go out here and use those people to say why she can't be with you. But many of your guys out here, because they're completely clueless, they'll sit there and think, oh, that's a legitimate reason. Oh, she had to work late. Oh, she had to go out to this family member meeting. She had to think. She thinks she's got stuff to do. And that's not the case at all with the guy who she really wants to be around. And you got guys out here, again, like your Del Curry, they didn't really see those signs because they were more emotionally invested in the woman. And they were invested in the woman because a lot of these guys, even though some of them had fathers in their lives, just did not have the male life skills to quickly identify these traits that let you know that this woman is interested or not. Because these guys, they don't really know how to pick up on nonverbal cues. They don't know how to pick up on body language. They don't know how to pick up on action. And because they don't know how to pick up on these things, this is what leads to these guys winding up getting themselves played. And the reason why they get played is because they think that because they're getting that attention, they're number one, but they were never number one from the jump. You were just somebody she saw that she thought was interesting and would be somebody she could put on that back burner for herself. And that's what happened to your Del Curry with Sonya Curry. Sonya Curry was out here with this white dude. she was making herself available to the white dude. And your Del Curry thought, oh, I'm a big time basketball player on a college campus. I can go out here and I'm going to be a big star. I'm doing well and I can use this success. But that success means nothing to many of these females because most women are emotional. And because they are emotional, they are not, it's not about what you have, it's about how she feels. And if she's not feeling you, you could have all the success in the world, but she still will not be into you. And that's something many of these, what they call educated lames or the square guys, they don't really understand. They'll sit there and talk about how they're a good man, how they're out here and have this good education and have this good job, but they can't get any women. But the problem is that they're looking in the wrong pool of women. They're in a pool of women who clearly are not into them, and they're not really understanding that this woman isn't into you. So, and you're practically wasting your time trying to tell her about your successes because this woman in the first 5 seconds of looking at you was not emotionally stimulated because usually within the first 5 seconds of looking at a guy, a woman will let you know if she's interested or not. Thank you, Revelator, for the Cash App. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to donate to the Cash App, I will drop a link in the chat. So if you want to drop that to the Cash App, I'm going to drop that link. And if you guys want to pick up my book, Stop Simping, so you can learn more about this information, because I have it all written down in my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. You can get that book and really pick up on how to avoid these types of situations, because you have to understand. Thank you, Mobar7170, for the super chat. Yeah, Jada was definitely chasing the ghost of Tupac. I'm about to get into that in a minute. This is Stop Simping. You can get Stop Simping here. You get Stop Simping here, and you can donate to the Cash App by clicking the link in the script in the chat. So then you have, in addition to your Sonya Curry, you have your Jada Pinkett Smith. Now, your Jada Pinkett Smith is another example of an emotionally unavailable woman. And your Will Smith thought because he was an up-and-coming star, he could get the attention of Jada the same way that your Del Curry thought he could get Sonya. Unfortunately, your Will Smith, because he had not been taught how to study a woman's emotional availability, he wound up thinking he could chase Jada Pinkett Smith, and he thought he could use his attachments of his box office success to be an asset to her, but she was never concerned about Will in any way, shape, or form as related to his success. No, your Jada Pinkett's heart was with Tupac Shakur, and it was with Tupac Shakur ever since her high school days. So this woman was emotionally connected to a Tupac Shakur, and I believe that your Jada Pinkett probably, if she did sleep with Tupac, she probably formed a spiritual bond with Tupac in addition to her emotional attachment. And this is what caused a bond between your Jada Pinkett and your Tupac Shakur. And if she had her way, she would have gone out here and married your Tupac Shakur or even had some of his children. Unfortunately, what happened to your Tupac Shakur was he was tragically assassinated before he could go out here and continue his relationship with Jada Pinkett. And what happened was, this is one of the things that affected your Jada Pinkett deeply. Now, your Jada Pinkett had all the signs that she was emotionally available for Tupac, because when he was in Rikers Island for the alleged crime that they said he committed, that he actually got cleared for, what she was doing was writing him love letters, and she was trying to make herself available for him. So if a female is making herself available to a guy in a perilous situation like this, that shows she's emotionally available for him and she is making him a priority. And that's another sign that you have to look out for. I mean, if this guy is in some real dire situation, you have a female licking herself ready to go be with said dude, that shows that she's making herself emotionally available to him and she's got emotions invested in him. And that was something your Will Smith really was not thinking about as he was trying to chase Jada. He was sitting there thinking, oh, I've got a shot at this Hollywood up and coming star, and I'm going to be able to get with her. But he didn't really see the signs that this woman was already taken, and she was taken by another man. Because when a woman is taken by another man emotionally, she is going to make herself again, make that man first, make that man a priority, and she's going to drop everything to be with him, and she will go to the most perilous situations to be with that man. That's what happens to many of those females who go out here with the Pookies and the Ray Rays. They're emotionally attached to that kind of guy. And that's what happened with Jada Pinkett. She was emotionally attached to Tupac, and she wanted Tupac to be the superstar in her life. She wanted to wait to see if Tupac would get to that next level, and Tupac was getting to that level. So she was waiting to see where he was going to go, and she was willing to live the thug life with Tupac. And that was how things she wanted to go. Unfortunately, what happened to your Tupac, again, was he wound up losing his life. And unfortunately, your Will Smith couldn't see how your Tupac still had Jada Pinkett's heart, and he couldn't really see the big pattern. But when I look at the timeline between your Tupac's death and Jada Pinkett's marriage, it shows me how your Will Smith was completely clueless to your Jada Pinkett's emotional unavailability because your Tupac, I believe, he died about 96 or so, and Jada got married to Will in 1997. So that really shows me how there was some hypergamy with your Jada Pinkett Smith, who she could not physically be with your Tupac, who was passed away, and she was still with her heart with him, but she wanted to be physically with the man who she saw had an opportunity to be like your Tupac Shakur and have the success like your Tupac Shakur. So what she did was she monkey branched over to Will Smith, who was going to have the big success like your Tupac, and she decided to go be with Will Smith as the guy who was physically available, and he was basically like a consolation prize to her. So the man she really wanted and had her heart in was your Tupac, but the guy who she went out here and got married to was the guy who was physically available. And that's what women do when the guy who they emotionally can't get with, they go out here and settle for the guy who is physically there. And that's what happened with your Jada Pinkett. She couldn't physically be with Tupac, so she settled for Will Smith. And the same thing happened to your Del Curry with Sonya Curry. She decided to settle for Del Curry, and she settled for Del Curry because he had the economic success as being an NBA star. He had the fame, he had the clout, and that's when her hypergamy kicked in, and she decided to go out here and monkey branch over to the guy who had the resources physically and economically, but she was not emotionally interested in that guy. And what usually happens in these kind of situations when you have these women going out here to monkey branch over to that kind of guy is yes, she will physically be there And because this guy is completely clueless, he's like thinking, oh, I'm in love. She's paying attention to me. She really wants me. But no, she doesn't want you. She is settling for you. And what's really sad about both your Del Curry and your Will Smith is here were two of the most successful black men, and they couldn't see the big picture as related to both of these women. They couldn't really see that it didn't matter about your millions of dollars, your ability to be this big success. No, she was never emotionally interested in the first place with you, and she was never emotionally connected to you in any way, shape, or form. And basically, you were the guy who she was going to go out here and use as her, basically her settlement if things didn't work out with the other guy. And you were the guy who was the guy in the background, the guy in the harem who basically was somebody she was just gonna get with if things didn't work out. And as a man, you don't want to be the fallback guy because the fallback guy is not somebody who is going to be able to have a successful relationship with any woman. Now, the reason why the fallback guy will never have a successful relationship with a woman is because a fallback guy is not somebody a woman respects. Now, that I want you guys to really think about that because that's a very important point. And when you're the fallback guy, you are just there for a utility because when a woman truly cares about a man, she is going to, again, make him first, make him a priority, and she's going to show that man respect. And the fallback guy is not somebody she respects. She does not see him as somebody that she values emotionally. She does not see him as somebody she values as a man. She does not see the fallback guy as somebody whose lead she wants to follow. No, she sees the fallback guy as a tool, and she sees him as somebody who is there to be a convenience for her. And that's something your Will Smith and your Del Curry did not really think about. They did not understand that they, in spite of all of their education, success, and all of the things that they had going on in their lives that they thought made them a economic asset, you were not anybody emotionally valuable to her. So that's what these guys really didn't figure out. And they didn't really figure it out because they were so caught up in this woman's looks. They were so caught up in, some of them caught up in the chase. And because they were sort of caught up in her looks and caught up in chasing her, they could not see that they were the ones who were out here being misled, and they were being misled by their feelings because they were not into things critically. Yes, the King, this is a live stream, and I am live. I am talking to you right now online for real, and this is, I can hold up this book. This is a lot. I'm up here live, and I'm going to get to See Truth the Revelator. Thank you for the super chat. And he says, this also proves that women can be the most successful actors. They'll go as far as having children with you. And yes, many of these women who make themselves physically available for the fallback guy, they are great pretenders. And that's another part of this woman. Again, she's physically here and she's settling for you, and she'll play the role just to be there because she sees that you have this money. She sees that you have this fame. She sees that you have this success that she wants, and she'll play the role to get access to those resources, and she'll sit there and pretend to be whatever you need her to be, and she'll be part of your fantasy world, and she'll do that because she knows that there's not much else out there. So she's feeling, what she's going to do is settle for you, but the whole thing is she does not value you. She values what you have. And that's something many guys like your Will Smiths and your Del Currys never really understand. They're thinking, oh, I got a shot with this woman, but they're not understanding you never had a shot at all because she doesn't care and she's only interested in you because you represent a secure economic place for her and you represent an ability for her to be provided for. And instead of her, she's not interested in being any sort of helpmeet for you. She's not interested in any of that at all. Thank you, The Kang, for the super chat from Canada. I really appreciate it. Again, if you want to donate to the super chat or you want to donate to the Cash App, you can donate to those by either hitting the super chat or hitting the Cash App by clicking the link in the chat. And again, your Jada Pinkett, she was a great actress in movies like A Low Down Dirty Shame and A Different World, but her greatest acting role was being the wife of Will Smith because she was in that role of a wife pretending to be a helpmeet to your Will Smith, but she wasn't looking to help Will Smith in any way, shape, or form. She was looking to help herself to the two things Will Smith had, his fame and all of his resources. And she was willing to play that role to get to be that wife to get to those resources. And she was willing to go out here and play that role for the longest time. And the same thing happened with your Sonya Curry. She was willing to play that role of a wife because she was going to go out here and be able to receive all those benefits like a nice home, lots driving around in luxury cars, going to the NBA games, being an incredibly famous superstar's wife, and being seen in all of these pictures in Hollywood. So she gets to get all of this attention for herself, but she could not get that attention with any other guy out here. Now, Jada wanted that with Tupac, but she couldn't get it with Tupac. And when it came down to Sonya Curry, that white dude had no way of making her get that fame and attention that she would have had with your Del Curry. So when it comes down to a lot of women, they will be hypergamous like this. And yes, they will make themselves physically available for these dudes who have all of these resources, but they will not emotionally be there. Their whole face and body language will show you that they have checked out. And this is something a lot of guys, if they're not thinking critically, they're not going to pick up on it. But a guy who does think critically, he is going to be able to pick up on this, and he's going to be able to pick up on it very quickly. He's going to be able to say, hey, I'm looking at the way this woman is acting around me. I'm seeing that she's not really enthusiastic. I'm seeing that she's not really excited in my presence. Her face doesn't light up. She's not really giving me a genuine smile. I'm not really feeling the energy that she's really into me. But when you have a guy, again, who is caught up in his own success, like a Will Smith or a Del Curry, they're not really understanding what to look for. They're just thinking, oh, I got an attractive female on my arm. I got an attractive female in my face, and she's with me. So I've got this attractive woman with me. So this means I have value. But no, it doesn't mean anything because she's not really feeling you. She will physically be there, but she's not really emotionally there. And again, if a woman is not emotionally there, it doesn't matter if she's physically there. Thank you, Seeker of Truth, for the super chat. He says some women will go the long haul in their acting, and most men will go to their graves never knowing the deception. And that is so true. And what happens in some cases is that some of these women will go this long haul in their acting, and the other guy, he's just completely clueless, and he doesn't understand that this woman is out here. She's got these feelings for this other guy, and in some cases, she's having what they call an emotional affair. Now, this emotional affair, it goes back to something that was stated in the Bible in Matthew, how a man can look at a woman to lust after her and commit adultery in his own heart. And that's what some of these women are doing when they're having these emotional affairs. They are out here committing adultery in their own heart because they're physically with a guy, but they're emotionally with another guy. And they really want to be with the other guy, but they're physically with the other guy, the provider guy, because they want to be taken care of, but they're not emotionally involved with the other man. So they'll sit there and live high on the man making the big money. And then what they'll do is go out here and be emotionally with the other man. Now, some women, when they're emotionally with the other man, they will go out here and do it passively by doing things like having fantasies about the other man while they're with the other man physically. And others will go out here and they'll continue to maintain what they call a friendship with a dude. And they'll be friends with this guy on the side and say, oh, he's just my friend. But when you hear somebody talking about he's just my friend, that's a red flag right there for a guy. This woman is emotionally unavailable because no woman has male friends. No, that's a guy she want to get with, but is too afraid to go out here and get with. Either he's a guy in the harem or he's a guy that she's really into, but there's no male friend out here. What she wants to do is be with that guy, but the things are not to where she wants them to be. And that is something that a lot of guys never, like a Will Smith or a Del Curry, never figure out. They're sitting there thinking, oh, he's just a friend. But no, he's not just a friend. And when you have a guy out here, a woman out here talking about another guy, that is another indicator that that woman ain't into you. And that's something I learned way back in high school. When you see a female always talking about a dude, that's another sign she's emotionally into him. Because when a woman is emotionally into a dude, she can't shut up about him. And that's another indicator to you that she's not into you, is if she's sitting up there and she's with you and she's talking about another guy. Because when a woman is into a man, you cannot, again, stop her from talking about said dude, because she sees him as her number one and the center of her life. So when she sees a dude that she's really into, she's always going to be talking about him. She's always going to be mentioning him. She's always going to be saying something about him. So that is another indicator of emotional availability, because when she's on a job, she'll constantly be calling him, constantly be texting him, constantly be telling her friends about him. And that's another indicator that she's into that said dude, because she's going to, again, make him first. And I've seen this at many jobs. When she'll come to work, the first person she's calling is that dude to let her know she got into work all right. And throughout the day, she's going to be calling that dude all throughout the day. So when you have a female who's really into a guy, she's always going to be calling him at work and saying, oh, I'm into work right now, or I'm going to lunch right now, and what you doing? And she'll always make sure she is there for said dude. But for a guy who she's not into, she'll just be like, you can't be calling me at work. I gotta go to the job. It's like she's letting you know that you're not a priority and that she's making other things a priority above you. So a lot of these guys, again, like a Will Smith or Del Curry, they're not going to pick up on that and see where that went. They're going to be like, oh, she's so fine. She's paying me attention. Oh, she's into me. It's like, no, dude. If she was into you, your phone would be getting lit up and it would be lighting up like a Christmas tree at your job. It would be getting lit up at your home. I mean, she would be constantly sending you text messages, constantly sending you emails, and it would be an endless plethora of messages throughout the day because, again, that's emotional availability. And she's really letting you know, I'm here for you and I want to be around you and I really want to be with you above all else. Now, another indication of emotional availability, again, is you could ask this woman at any time and she's going to say yes. Because, again, emotionally available people, they're women, they're going to want to be around you. And if you just say, I want to go to the movies, she's going to be ready to go to the movies. If you say you want to just go to the McDonald's, she's going to be ready to go to McDonald's. So that's another sign of emotional availability. And that's her clearing her schedule just to be with you. And that's something that when it comes down to a lot of the square guys, they don't really pick up on this because they're sitting there just hoping, wishing, and praying for any sort of attention that they receive from one of these females that they're interested in. And because they're so caught up in the chase and caught up in getting her approval, they can't see that if she was going to approve of you, she would be out here ready to go from minute one. The John Haynes comic is not going to be ready until probably the later on this year or maybe January. I'm still working on it, but the John Haynes series books are available on Amazon right now. The John Haynes prose books of the series are available on Amazon, and you can start the John Haynes series with A Conversation with Death. So you can pick up the first John Haynes series book, A Conversation with Death, or the book that started it all, The Temptation of John Haynes. Excuse me, that's the book that started everything, including the SJS Direct universe. You can pick that up on Amazon.com. Pick it up on Amazon.com in paperback. And there's also The Man Who Rules the World. I got to go find that one. As a sequel to The Temptation of John Haynes. But those are all the John Haynes books. But I'll get back to this emotional availability because this is something that a lot of guys, they never really pick up on. And because they don't pick up on it, they wind up, again, getting played by women who play the role. Yes, they'll play the role of the girlfriend. They'll play the role of the wife. And they'll put on a performance as they're with you. And they'll be with you for years, just like they were for Sonya Curry. And just like they were there for you with Jada Pinkett. Jada Pinkett was with Will Smith for over 20 years, and she was there playing that role of that wife, playing that role of that girlfriend, playing that role of that partner in the relationship, but she was only there because she wanted to be seen in the pages of places like People magazine and Access Hollywood. She wanted to be at the premieres. She wanted to be able to wear the nice dresses, and she wanted to be out here and be with the prominent man. But she really only wanted him because he was prominent. If he was some ordinary dude, she would not care in any way, shape, or form about him because there would be nothing there to emotionally stimulate her about this guy. So this guy is thinking, oh, I'm here because I'm a big star, but the only thing she wants is the resources from the big star. She wants all of the things that he has related to him. She does not want him at all. And that's what happens when you don't understand emotional availability, because an emotionally available person wants the person, and they want the person because they like the person for who they are. That's the big difference between a woman who's emotionally available And an emotionally unavailable woman is that the emotionally available woman wants the guy, and the emotionally unavailable woman wants the guy's resources. So one will be with the guy because she likes the guy, she's into the guy, she's feeling the guy. But the emotionally unavailable woman, if all she wants is the stuff, and what will happen to the emotionally unavailable guy if he loses his job and is unable to give her that lifestyle that allows her to be in that higher social situation, is that she will be looking to get to the exit door as soon as possible. Now, that's what happens to, again, the guy who does not understand emotional unavailability. He cannot understand that this woman is only there based on your economic conditions. She's only there because the money you've got, and once your money starts to run out and once your status starts to run out, that's when she's starting to head towards the door. Now, in the case of your Sonya Curry, I'm seeing where your Del Curry's social status is starting to wear down, and that's why she's looking at the door right now. She's looking at your Del Curry and seeing, oh, here's an older man in his 50s. He's no longer the big time NBA player. He's no longer out here getting the big numbers. The son is no longer in a NBA championship team. And she's seeing social status starting to decline. And when she sees the social status starting to decline, that's when she starts to look around and starts to really start to change her whole demeanor about this guy. And she goes from tolerating said man to saying that I'm starting to lose my interest in this man. And that's when she starts going from tolerating the dude to expressing her contempt for said dude. And that's what happens to your Sonya Curry with your Del Curry. She started to express her disrespect for Del Curry by saying, "Oh, he was cheating on me," and then filing for divorce. But it really wasn't about ending the marriage. It was about the guy no longer having those resources and that fame, and she now wants to cash out of the relationship because she can no longer be with a high status man. And now that she's no longer high status, she wants to go out here and cash out and be on her way. And she's hoping that she can hopefully find another dude to monkey branch to, because this guy, he no longer has the attachments that can allow her to enjoy a high social status lifestyle that she wants to have with him. So what she wants to do is say, look, this guy no longer has those resources. He no longer has that swag that she wants, and he no longer has what she wants. So she wants to go out here and cash out of that relationship, and she wants to cash in to a brand new relationship with a more popular man. And the same thing is happening to your Jada Pinkett right now. And this is why she is expressing so much contempt for Will Smith. Now, she was down with Will Smith as long as he was the A-list, blockbuster, $20 million a picture star. But once Will Smith's star started to fade, that's when your Jada Pinkett started having issues with your Will Smith. Now, it was alleged that your Will Smith had been out here with different types of women, and that might possibly be, and the same thing with Del Curry, but the women had no problem with those guys as long as they had their high status lifestyles. But the whole thing is, now that their stars, or Will Smith's star, is starting to fade, that's when your Jada Pinkett was starting to have your issues with your Will Smith and starting to express them publicly. Now, passively, I believe she was expressing her contempt for Will Smith because she was the way she raised her son and her daughter, because passively she raised them to become extremely dysfunctional. And as the first teacher, she taught them a lot of dysfunction. So I believe, again, that was another way of her expressing her contempt for Will Smith passive aggressively. But I also believe that that contempt started to grow, and it started to really start to evolve over the course of the 2010s as Will Smith's star started to fade and he stopped being the box office blockbuster star. Once he stopped being the blockbuster star of all of those action movies and started to really, his star started to wane, that's when she started to have issues with Will. And that's when she started to stop tolerating him and started expressing more contempt for him. And that is what happens to all of these guys out here who get involved with women based on their feelings without thinking critically to see if that woman is emotionally available. So she was starting to check out of the relationship because there was no more social status for her. There was no more lifestyle for her. And she felt like, okay, this guy, I was never really into him, but I was into what he had. And it looks like he's about to lose what he had. So she's looking at the front door. Unfortunately, your Will Smith, he's just completely oblivious to things, and he's not really seeing that this woman is already getting ready to audition your replacement, and she's doing it in a very, very devious way. Now, the whole situation with August Alsina, that was, she was saying that it was an entanglement. No, that was one, an expression of contempt. And that's how some of these females who are emotionally available will do you. They will express their contempt in a passive aggressive way. Passively, they'll say that they're having an affair, but aggressively, they're taking a shot at you because what she was doing with August Alsina was saying that, oh, I can get myself a younger man, I can get myself a better man, and I can get a guy who is up and coming with fame. But the whole affair wound up ending because August Alsina's star really never rose. So that's one of the reasons why she wound up checking out of that so-called entanglement, was because he never really rose to any sort of stardom. So she wanted to go out here and say, I can go get myself a younger man to replace you. I can get a better man to replace you. And that's all due to the fact that she had no respect for Will Smith. And that was again shown by this so-called entanglement, which was basically her looking to try to find a way to disrespect Will because she did not see Will as a man she had any respect for. Because again, emotionally available woman, when she's out here, she wants to show that man the greatest respect because when she's out here, she wants to make sure that she maintains her number one status. And because she still wants to be number one, she's going to go out here and make that man, show that man the greatest respect. But when she sees a guy like Will Smith, she just does not see anybody she respects. So she's going to start pulling herself away from the relationship, putting distance between herself, and start making other people a priority. And that was shown with things like the red table talk. I mean, she's spending more time with her mother and her family. Again, detaching herself from a man. And when you have a female detaching herself from a man, that again shows that she's not emotionally there. She's checking out of the relationship, and she's finding ways to check out from you. And this is what Will was never figuring out about his wife, that she had already checked out of the relationship, and she was already continuing to express contempt for him, one, through the affair, and then she continued to express contempt for him on the red table talk, where she basically emasculated dude on front of a live audience. Unfortunately, your Will didn't, again, pick up on things. He just tried to go along to get along, talking about bad marriage for life. But the whole thing is, it's a bad marriage because you didn't really understand to see the signs when you were out here trying to court this woman. And if you saw those signs, you would never have courted said woman, because emotional availability is something a guy can easily pick up on. And once you pick up on emotional availability, then you know to not make yourself physically available for a female who just isn't there. I mean, that's something that Will Smith never picked up on. And because he never picked up on it, he wound up in this situation because he just could not pick up on things with a lot of females as related to emotional availability. And because he could not pick up on Jada still being into Tupac, this is what led to him wasting 20 years of his life. And what was really the most disturbing thing for me as related to your Jada Pinkett and your Will Smith is the fact that Jada Pinkett expressed the greatest contempt for him by telling her daughter that she still had feelings for Tupac. That to me is the ultimate form of disrespect when you tell the child who is that man's seed that you have feelings for another man. That is basically a punch in the face to that man because you're basically telling that man in front of his seed, in front of his heir, that, oh, I love somebody else. And that is the ultimate disrespect that a woman could ever express for a man. That is just ultimate absolute contempt that is being expressed towards a dude, but your Will Smith just sits there and tolerates that instead of going out here and giving this female the hardest check that she deserves. Because that right there, going in front of your child, a child that you bore out of your seed, and telling your child, oh, I have feelings for another man who has been dead for over 20 years, that is absolutely contemptible, absolutely disrespectful, and that is something that any guy would out here with a backbone and stones, he would be out here saying, look, it's time to go to divorce court. It's time to get rid of this female because if she's going to go out here and say to my child that I want another man, that is the end of the line as I see it. What's going on, Gboot2786? Glad to see you here. And Gboot2786 and I do a live stream every Thursday. And if you want to get in on that action-packed live stream, you can head over and subscribe to his channel. So if you want to check out that live stream on Thursday nights or Tuesday nights, if it depends if I can, how my schedule is these days, you can sub to his channel and you can check out that live stream by clicking the link in the chat. But that was one of the things that I found to be extremely disturbing because she's sitting there with Willow talking about another man, and that's not something a woman who loves a man and is emotionally available is going to do, is sit there and talk about a dead dude like Tupac who's been dead for over 20 years and sit there and act like, oh, this is okay. I'm going to sit here and talk about a man, talk about how I love him and I wrote him love letters. I mean, that's not something a mother does to her child, because she's going to make that husband number one. She's going to say, look, I love your father more than anybody out here because I respect this man. I married this man. But when a woman is emotionally unavailable, she will go out here and be sitting up here talking about other men in front of her children. And sometimes we'll do that in front of the guy, not understanding how that emasculates that man and how that just shows absolute disrespect for that man. Now, there was an article that G2786 sent me about Jada Pinkett that also really showed me how, the relationship showed she was emotionally unavailable. And this article from dailyreport71.com, I'm going to leave a link to in the chat, showed how your Jada Pinkett expressed more contempt for your Will Smith. Now, in this article, she states that on her bucket list at 50 is she really wants to learn how to love. Now, this is another, again, passive aggressive insult directed towards Will Smith. And to sit there and say, I really want to learn how to love, that's a disrespect to this man who you've been married to for over 20 years. And in some ways, it's a low key confirmation of many of the things I have talked about in this live stream about being emotionally unavailable and going out here and using this guy as a utility, because she's sitting here talking about how she really wants to learn how to love. Well, if you truly loved your husband, you would know how to love. If you truly loved your children, you would know how to love. But the real reason why you don't really know how to love is because you were emotionally unavailable to this man for over 20 years. You were emotionally detached from this man for over 20 years. And her heart was with this guy, Tupac Shakur. And that is the guy who she truly loved. And because she could not be with that man, she did not know how to love anybody out here. So your Jada Pinkett low-key told on herself about how she was emotionally unavailable throughout this relationship. And she low-key told that she was not interested in your Will Smith. And your Will Smith, sadly, he's a lot like a lot of these square dudes out here. And this is I believe, the third time he's been played, because Will really doesn't understand the whole paradigm about women. He really doesn't understand what's going on. I mean, I heard that he was out here with what's her name, Salt from Salt and Pepper, and she wasn't interested in him for the same reason. And he was also out here with his first wife, and that fell apart for the same reason. So he has a lot of issues as related to picking the wrong women, and he was picking the wrong women because he really did not understand that whole concept of emotional availability. He was just sitting here looking at, oh, she's so fly, she's so pretty, and not thinking about, oh, she's not answering her phone, she's not calling me up, or she's not being there. She's just always saying that, oh, I'll be there oh, it's Pepper. I'm sorry, I get it mixed up. G-Boo 2786. But the whole thing is that he has a pattern of picking women who like these thug guys and these bad boys. And the whole thing is that he's got what Dr. Robert Glover called the nice guy paradigm, and what I call the Captain Save 'em paradigm in my other book, Misadventures of Captain Save 'em. And he thinks he's going to go out here, put the cape on, and try to save these kind of females, but these type of females cannot be saved. So you can get Captain Save 'em on Amazon in Kindle format, and if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. But Will thought he could play Captain Save 'em. He thought he could be the white knight to these kind of females, and he was not really reading these females. And because he wasn't reading the woman to see, oh, let me look at her body language, let me look at her facial expressions, let me gauge if she's really excited and lighting up and really into me. Because these are things that you can pick up on an instinctive level. I mean, when you're out here with people, you can pick up on whether that person is really interested or if this person is just going along to get along. You can really gauge their energy and gauge their vibe. But when you're a guy who's one of these square dudes or one of these nice guys, all you're so caught up in is the attention. You're not picking up on the things that are going on. So you're not really picking up on, hey, this person is not into me. This person is not lighting up. This person, they're not feeling bright around me. I mean, there are things that in a person's spirit you can feel. And it's like, oh, this person's really, they're like super happy around you. Their spirit just lifts up when they're around you. These are things you can pick up on. But if a person is not really into you, you're going to get that indifference. But these guys don't pick up on indifference because they are the ones with the emotions, and they're not understanding that a woman has to be emotional if she's into you. If she's into you, you're going to pick up on all of those emotions. You're going to be able to read those emotions. You're going to be able to feel that energy. But Will looks like he doesn't really understand these kind of things, and that's why he wound up getting played 3 times, and the relationships never really worked out. Now he's looking like what he's trying to do now is trying to stay in the bad marriage for life. He's trying to shoehorn himself into this relationship and trying to keep making it work. And this is another mistake that I talk about in my book, Stop Simping, that a lot of simps, they make this mistake. They try to go out here and they try to force things to work. But if it ain't working, it's not working. And no amount of trying to shoehorn things is going to make it work. So I talk about this in the chapter of Stop Simping because a lot of guys, they want things to work. They want to force it to work. But if it's not flowing, it's not flowing. And it's not flowing because she's not feeling you. So this is something a lot of guys don't understand. And they'll be in the marriage and they'll be thinking, oh, I can just ride this out. But there is no riding it out if she's lost all respect for you. If she's lost all respect for you, there is no riding it out. And you're just wasting time, either waiting to the death do us part, or you're waiting for the divorce that's going to come. So that's where your Will Smith is right now, as I see it. I mean, he's at that point where it's either death do us part, or he's going to wind up. He's waiting to see who's going to drop the divorce first. Thank you, Mobar7170, for the super chat. Or which one? He's asked which one is worse, suffering from emotional unfaithfulness or physical unfaithfulness. I'd have to say emotional unfaithfulness is worse because emotional unfaithfulness is, like they said in the Bible, you're committing adultery with your own heart. And when you're looking at that person to lust after them, you're already out here having the thoughts of being with this other person. And you're not even physically connected to that. You're not emotionally connected to the other person. So, and a person who is emotionally unfaithful is already committing adultery, and they're already committing adultery in their heart because their heart is with that other person. But with these guys, like your Del Currys and your Will Smiths, they can't see that the woman was never emotionally there. So they put themselves physically in a situation with a woman who's emotionally not there, and they wind up with a woman who was just physically in the room, but she's emotionally someplace else, and they set themselves up for a failure that's going to happen later on. And that's what happens to a lot of guys out here who don't, again, know how to gauge a woman's emotional state, don't know how to read a woman's body language or facial expressions. Those kind of guys, because they don't understand the concept of emotional availability. These are the guys who wind up with partners who commit adultery, and they themselves wind up committing adultery as well. They wind up going out here and having all these other women on side, and they go out here and they have these women because the woman that they have is not there. Their wife is not there. Their girlfriend is not there. And because the woman is emotionally not there, and they don't have the courage to go out here and end their relationship, they go out here and they're out here with other women having affairs. But there's no reason to do that if you just know how to pick up on things. If you pick up on things early on, you'd be like, look, she's not into me. I'm not going to waste my time. And you're going to understand the most important thing is your time. And that's something your Will Smith, sadly, still has not understood. What's going on, Jerobi? Glad to see you here. I'm good. I'm just talking about, Jada Pinkett and Sonya Curry and trying to get people to understand the whole concept of emotional unavailability. Because if you understand that concept of emotional unavailability, it can save you a lot of time in your life, and it can keep you from getting involved with people who are just basically using you as a convenience, basically using you as somebody to be a pit stop. And that's what happened with Jada Pinkett and Sonya Curry. They were using Will Smith and Del Curry as pit stops in their life. They were using them to go out here and have their ability, have a nice life at their expense. They were using these guys basically to move themselves ahead. And both of these guys, because they wanted to have a fly, light-skinned female on their arm, what they did was they went out here thinking, oh, I'll be able to get with this female and it'll be a good thing. But it wasn't a good thing at the end for either man, because both of them wound up never getting the respect of their woman, and they also wound up in one is in a relationship that's going to be a divorce, and the other is in a relationship that is turned into a nightmare with a female who is practically sending every message that she wants this relationship to end, because when you see a female out here like Jada Pinkett shaving her head, she's sending a message that she's in distress and she basically wants out of this relationship. Because when you see a woman shaving her head like Miley Cyrus did or your Britney Spears did, that is a sign that that woman is in distress. And when you see her going out here and talking like Jada Pinkett did about getting tattoo sleeves, what she's doing is she's trying to feel something because she has no emotional investment in the relationship. And I know that from listening to many goths talk about tattoos. So I know that people, they say they do this because they want to feel something. And even if they could feel pain, they'll take the tattoos. And again, she's emotionally checked out of this relationship. But you cannot tell Will Smith. He's still caught up in his stardom. He's still caught up in his fame. And he doesn't even see how his star has faded. And he cannot see that this woman is on her way out. She is checking out of the relationship, and she wants to check out of this marriage once and for all. And she wants to check out because she sees no emotional investment in this guy. And she never really invested in this guy at all. She was only into him because he was the star that she wanted Tupac to be, but he never really turned into the kind of man that emotionally turned her on like Tupac Shakur did. He was basically, again, the backup guy. He was the cleanup guy, and he was the guy in the background who was waiting to be picked up in case the other guy fell through. And now that he's starting to fall through, she wants to, again, check out of the relationship. And this is what a lot of older women want to do when they're with a guy for convenience. They don't care about the guy's money. They're already comfortable, and they figure, I'll fall for divorce, I'll get half of his money, then I'll try to find the guy that I want to be with, and they think that they're still the same hot chick that they were in their 20s. And oftentimes what they do is they'll divorce the guy at 50 years old, like Jada Pinkett is doing, and they'll try to enter into the dating market. So what they'll do is go out here and try to get rid of this other guy because he was a square they never respected from day one. And then they'll go out here and get involved, go out here looking to enter the dating market, trying to find a guy who they think is going to be more emotionally stimulating. Now, when they do this, this is where your females really start to really hit the hard wall, because that's when they start getting smacked with the wall of reality, and that wall of reality shows them that they are not what they thought they were thinking they were. So you'll have a female out here, she'll, in her older age, call herself trying to get herself cleaned up and try to go out into the dating market. But the whole dating market will have changed because, one, she's 50 or 40 years old, and her social marketplace value has declined. And because her social marketplace value has declined, that she's finding that she's no longer that hot chick that everybody was chasing back in, like Jada Pinkett in the 90s, or your Sonya Curry in the 80s. And that's when they get the rude awakening, because here you have this 50 or 50 plus or 40 plus year old woman trying to go out here in the dating market. And she's finding, one, the dating world has changed, and two, the pool of simps she used to go out here and be able to get the attention of, that pool of simps is no longer available, because at 50 years old, all the guys who she had things in common with, or guys who thought she was fly, all those men are either dead, all of them are married, or some of them are baby daddies and have their own families. So she is no longer any considered an asset to those men. And those younger guys, they don't see her as anybody they want to be with, because when they look at her, they see mama. So that's the rude awakening that's awaiting your Sonya Currys or your Jada Pinkett's. They go out here again. They're thinking that, oh, I'll leave this guy because he's a loser, but they wind up losing in the end, because one, they wind up breaking up the one home that they had that they did not appreciate, and two, they wind up with only half of the assets because they took away all of the money that they had as related to their family wealth with the divorce. So what they do is they break up their family, and after they break up their family, to go out here and enter the dating market thinking that they can go out here and compete, they wind up embarrassed, because they find that, one, the pool of simps has dried up. Two, there are no real guys out there that are interested. And three, that there are lots of younger, more attractive women out here, and that these younger, attractive women actually have more to offer than she does. And that's the thing that really starts to really shock a lot of these women, because they're thinking, like I talked about in my book, why 70% of black women are single. A lot of them are still thinking that the time has not passed, but time does pass. And when time passes, Amazon.com as well, thinking that, oh, I can go back out here at any time, but you can't go back out here, because now at this point, you are not the same woman you were when you were 21 or 22. Because when you were 21 or 22, you were a single woman, you had no children, you had the tight body. But when you're 45, 50, or 56 years old, like many of these women are, you are an older woman who has had kids, you've been married to other men, you've had multiple sexual partners. So most of those things are detriments to you, because you have a lot of things going on. And those are things that women like Jada Pinkett don't really think about, because they're so caught up in their feelings of anger towards a guy like Will Smith that they cannot see that you going back out into that world, you're not the prize anymore. In fact, your value is dropped lower than a $5 food stamp without the book. And you're trying to sell a $5 food stamp without the book to a bunch of people who are going out here exchanging cryptocurrency, and they are going out here looking for women who are assets like a Bitcoin or a doggy coin. They're looking for the women of their era and their age. So that time has passed, but these women never appreciate it, because, again, they were so busy making themselves emotionally unavailable to this guy that they were with. They cannot see that they're not going to be somebody that anybody wants to be available for, because when it comes down to the dating market, both men and women need to understand that you only have a limited time to get a partner. So you have to go out here and deal with the women who want to deal with you when you have that time to deal with them. Unfortunately, your Jada Pinkett and your Sonya Curry never learned this lesson, and now they're going to learn the lesson the hard way. And sadly, Will Smith is going to learn it the hardest of all the ways because he still is not really connecting the dots as related to this situation. And because he's not has not connected the dots, he cannot still see that his wife is physically there, but emotionally she's in another place. And if she's in another place, then you have to go out here and let her go. Because I would have, if a smart man would have said, look, after the relationship with the entanglement or August Alsina, he would have cut off all ties and he would have cut those ties and let that woman go on because a act of adultery like that under the Most High, that is a reason for divorce right there. And it's because she committed fornication and adultery with that man. So he had every right to leave her then. Unfortunately, he's trying to stay in the bad marriage for life because he has low self esteem and he does not understand his value as a man. And because he does not understand his value as a man, what he's doing is trying to stay in a relationship with a wife who has checked out and a woman who continues to express more and more contempt for him. But that contempt could have been easily identified in the early days of the relationship because when a guy is out here and he just can pick up on those cues early on, he can figure out that, hey, this person isn't into me. This person is just going through the motions. This person isn't feeling me, and they're going to just go out here and charge that woman to the game, and then they're going to keep it moving. That's what any critical thinking man is going to do because he understands if she isn't investing in feelings in him from the beginning, she's not invested in him. And if she's not investing feelings in you, then there's no relationship there at all. Thank you, Ajay07, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the comment. He says people need to step up and support the live stream. And he feels sorry for Will Smith. People have been supporting the stream, and I thank everybody for supporting the stream. So if you guys, again, want to donate to the super chat or you want to donate to the Cash App, you can do so as well. And again, I thank everybody for donating to the super chats and the Cash App because that's how I stay on the air. So, and yeah, I feel sorry for Will. I feel somewhat sorry for Will Smith, and I understand where he's coming from. But a lot of guys, they don't get these lessons early on. This was a hard lesson for me back when I was in high school, and it was one that I thank God that I did learn 30 years from ago. And it was one that not 30 years ago, 32 years ago, because I learned it at about 15, 16. And I'm 48 now. So this was a hard lesson for me. I mean, I remember when I was in Park West, there was a girl who was expressing interest in me. She gave me her phone number and I called it and I started to see that there was something wrong because she gave me the number to a payphone. And then she also was sitting there talking about another guy. So those were two red flags for me back when I was about 15, 16. And then when she said I couldn't do anything for her, that was another thing that let me know, okay, this woman is not interested in me emotionally. She's not investing any feelings. And then it hurt to hear that, but I had to let her go. And that's what any man of character he's going to do. He's going to say, look, okay, this person's not into me. This person's really just going through the motions. And I need to just leave this person alone. And that's what a man learns how to do because he understands the whole concept of emotional availability. And if you don't learn that early on, you just wind up wasting lots of time with females who basically use you as a convenience and a tool. So a lot of guys out here, thank you, Lindell, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. But that's something that a lot of guys never get, but I got, and I thank God that I did get that lesson because it was a painful lesson to learn. I mean, I hurt for about a week after hearing her tell me I couldn't do anything for her, but her heart was with another guy. And again, when they say, if they're sitting there talking about this other dude, you need to sit there and understand that you're done as related to her. And you need to stop wasting your time because you are worth more than being a part of somebody's harem. You have more value to the Most High than being her number two, and you have more value than being some backup. No, as God's steward and God's head, you need to be a leader and you need to be with women who want to follow your lead. And that's something the guys, a lot of the square dudes who are out here looking to be with emotionally unavailable women, they don't really understand. And they wind up wasting time like Del Curry and Will Smith with women who just are physically there but have emotionally checked out and are just basically using you as a convenience until they can find that next guy who can stimulate their emotions and get them really excited about them because they knew from looking at a guy from the first 5 seconds of looking at him whether they wanted to be with him or not. And they knew within the first 5 seconds of seeing a dude if they want to go out here and get with that guy. So they know within 5 seconds who they want to be involved with. And a lot of guys, again, your educated guys like your Del Currys and your Will Smiths, they want to be the good man. Unfortunately, they wind up with women who only want a guy who is good for them at the moment. And they wind up selling themselves short because they sell themselves for far less because they don't really have the confidence to go out here and they're looking to chase a said woman based on her looks, but not looking to look at her character and look at her values and look at who she is and how she's interested in them. Thank you, The King, for the super chat. He says, we need a new Batman animated series, a Superman animated series. And I will be talking about that in another video. And yeah, I ether these simps because I want guys to learn how to be men of purpose and men under the Most High. I want them to learn male life skills. So I do shows like this to try to help guys understand what's going on. God's spiritual poet, glad to see you here. I want them to understand, things that other guys don't talk about, like emotional availability. I mean, this is something that guys really need to understand because if you don't understand this, you're going to waste a lot of time with females who are not really worth the time. And your time is precious. I mean, time is something you can never get back. So why should you waste it with a female who doesn't really care about you outside of your utility? Thank you, C Truth the Revelator, for the super chat. He says, unfortunately, a lot of early to mid Gen Xers weren't taught female nature until YouTube came along. Now, many of us have caught up and adapted. Yeah, a lot of us were not really taught about female nature because most of the media we were presented was very gynocentric, and a lot of us grew up in homes that were latchkey and homes with single mothers. So a lot of us never got those lessons from men to teach us those male life skills or to teach us how to navigate situations with women. So a lot of us didn't get that, but thankfully we've had YouTube and we've had men come out here and start talking. And as men start talking, we start talking about these truths that young brothers and even young sisters need to pick up, and especially the young brothers, because this is the kind of stuff that I saw a lot of guys get played on, and we can see it happening with guys like Will Smith and guys like Del Curry, who came up in the 80s and the 90s, and they wound up getting played, and they got played because they just did not understand the big picture. They didn't understand what was going on. I mean, even when I was a teenager, I didn't really understand much of what was going on, but I started to figure things out. And yeah, it was a painful lesson that I learned back when I was in Park West High School, but it was a lesson that God needed me to learn because I was not ready. And I remember when the Most High told me I wasn't ready at 16, but I thought he was wrong, but he was right, because you need to really understand what's going on out here, because you can easily get taken advantage of if you don't really understand concepts like emotional availability, and you're not understanding that there are all sorts of stuff that's related to relationships. If you're getting into this teenage love, it's all feelings. But as you get older, you start going, hey, I got to look out and see if somebody is actually interested. And I need to deal with people who want to deal with me, not be like these teen movies where you're chasing women and trying to chase somebody who isn't interested, because that's not how it works. I mean, people who are interested, like I wrote in Spinsterella, they let you know almost immediately. And if a female is interested, she'll be watching you from afar, and then she's looking for the right moment to make that move. So these guys like Will Smith and your Del Currys, they're still caught up in the Madison Avenue Hollywood chase. And unfortunately, they wind up being the followers of the woman, and they follow themselves right into a really bad situation where they get jammed up, because that is sadly what happens to many of your so-called good men or your nice guys. They wind up getting themselves jammed up really bad because they're looking to try to win this woman's favor and approval by their accomplishments, but it's never your accomplishments. Again, she is gonna either want to be with you based on that first 5 seconds of looking at you, or and she's already made up her mind of what she wants, what type of relationship she wants to have with you within that first 5 seconds. And that is something that this guy, like your Del Currys and your Will Smiths, they never get that lesson. And sadly, even with a father in their lives, both of those men never got those lessons. And even worse, in the case of your Del Curry, he passed this type of dysfunction on to his son, and his son, Steph Curry, is in the same situation. And your Steph Curry is not picking up on the cues that his wife has checked out of the relationship, and she has checked completely out. Thank you, Roshan Morrison, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. I usually do my live streams at 11 p.m. for the viewers on the West Coast and the viewers in other parts of the world. And plus AEW Rampage was coming on, so I was watching AEW Rampage, and I just did this because I want to catch Rampage, and then I do the stream. But this was a subject I really wanted to get more in depth in, because I see so many guys who wind up in this trap, and sadly, those guys wind up getting played. And this is something that you need to learn this lesson, and you need to really talk about. A lot of guys don't know how to talk about emotional unavailability, and they don't know how to talk about emotional availability. They don't really understand the concept, and they don't really understand that women are emotional, and if she has no emotions invested in you, there is no relationship. So it doesn't matter how much education you have, how big a job you have, how many houses or cars. She doesn't care about any of that stuff because she isn't feeling you. And if she's not feeling you, there is no relationship whatsoever. And that's something your Will Smith and your Del Curry thought, oh, I could get by on my accomplishments, but you can't get by on your accomplishments, because the only people who get involved with you on relationships is the people who want to use you as a utility. And that's what's sadly happening to Will Smith and your Del Curry. And it's happening to Steph Curry. And sadly, in the case of Steph Curry, he's not really picking up on the signs. And that's all due to the dysfunctional relationship he learned from his father. I mean, his father didn't really sit down and talk to him and let him know this, because he didn't know it himself. But it's something that I learned, and it's something that I'm trying to teach, because I want everybody to really be able to understand this concept. Because once you understand this concept, it's going to really save you a lot of time, and it's going to keep you from having to deal with a lot of grief. Because again, when a woman is emotionally available, she is going to put you first. She's going to make you a priority. She's always going to be constantly talking about you. She's going to be constantly telling her friends about you. She's never going to shut up about you. And she's always going to be, you're the number one in her eyes. And that's something a guy wants, because that means that this woman wants to be in your life. She wants to have a relationship with you. She wants to be close to you. And that's something that a guy wants, because that means that She sees you as somebody she respects, somebody she values, and somebody she wants to be a part of her life. So that's what you really want, is that emotional availability, because an emotionally available woman is a woman who is emotionally there, and she will physically be there for you in the toughest times, like with Tupac and Jada Pinkett Smith. That's the woman you want. And you don't want the woman who is physically there and emotionally checked out. You want the woman who is emotionally there, and because if she's emotionally there, eventually she's going to make herself physically there, and she's going to want to be there because her heart is in that place. Now, I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream. I want to thank everybody who donated to the super chat. I want to thank Jade07 for rallying the super chats and the donations. And I want to thank the viewers for coming out to tonight's stream. And I really would appreciate if you guys would pick up some of the books I talked about, like Stop Simping and Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, because those books are going to really take you more in depth into many different subjects. And I would also love it if you guys would pick up some of my fantasy fiction, like Isis Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, John Hayes Taking Care of Business, Eternal Night, and books like The Man Crisis, because that helps me stay on the air, and it also will help you get a better understanding of the material. So I really appreciate all you guys coming out to tonight's stream, and I really wanted to do this subject because it really meant a lot to me. And I want you guys to learn the lesson that I learned without some of the pain I went through learning the lesson. So that's why I really wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about this whole concept of emotional availability, because it's sad to see Will Smith, guys like Will Smith and Del Curry not picking up on this, because I want you guys to pick up on it and learn from it. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, and I want you guys to, again, head over to Amazon and pick up some of these books on the SJS Direct imprint at Amazon. And again, I really want to thank you guys for coming out to tonight's stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. So good night, everybody, and have a great weekend.